back, Rejects. Welcome back, friends. We are so happy to be back from this break. Before we get started with the Splatoon run, I just want to say thank you for all the donations and everything. RAF started from one meme about being rejected from GDQ. Our lovely community events have raised over $21,000 for Planned Parenthood, which is amazing. Your support and viewership is what makes this event possible. We appreciate the continuous support. To donate, you can type !donate in the chat, or to view the schedule for the remainder of the event, you can type !schedule to see our awesome program. Just a reminder that those amazing Animal Crossing coasters are still available until the end of the Splatoon run, and it is only a $20 donation to be entered for a chance to win those. And we are also about $70 away from hitting that Solar Ash incentive for an upgrade to the true ending. And without further ado, let's give it up for DTail74 with Splatoon 3 Side Order Any % New Game Plus. Off to you!
Thank you. Yeah, so this will be Side Order Any % New Game Plus. I was told that we are just on the afro today, after the bid war was over, which is the same hairstyle I usually wear, so I don't have to go change it. So we're good on that front. The timer will begin when I open that door over on the elevator, so I will give us a quick countdown. 3, 2, 1, go! Alright, so in case you're not familiar, Side Order was the DLC for Splatoon 3. Came out maybe a year and a half after the game itself. And it's basically a sort of roguelite inside Splatoon 3. You have the same usual sort of gameplay where you fire ink on the ground so you can swim through it, you can get to places, get your ink back, shoot more ink in other places, etc. But it's all sort of poured into the mold of a roguelite. So the way this works is we have to go through 30 floors that get progressively harder, and every time we get into a new floor, we get a new upgrade. But we can sort of exert a little bit of control. We can choose what floors to play. And so there's different kinds of objectives and different things to do, what have you. So the goal for this run is just to do all of that as fast as possible. Obviously, there's not a whole lot in the way of like routing in a game like this, but we will be choosing very specific floors that are faster than others. There are some goals that are just simply faster to complete. Some of the goals are just fully wait out a timer and don't die. And obviously those are not particularly fast, so we're not going to be doing those when we can avoid it. Currently not getting great RNG. I'm going to take this floor. I can reset the selection of 3 floors that I'm offered at the cost of a little bit of money. And every time you complete a floor, you get some more money. And so balancing how often I'm resetting, because it gets more expensive every time that you do it, balancing how often I'm resetting with how good the floors that I'm being offered are is sort of the main point of a routing, I guess, of like making decisions for this particular run. So this floor, for example, this is an example of a slower type of floor. This is an 8-ball floor. We have to put the balls in these sockets. This one's not all that bad, but a lot of the later ones especially really take a long time because you have to do like 4 balls and the sockets are like all over the place and it's kind of terrible. We play this run with the charger weapon, which is this big sniper rifle that you have to charge up to fire this big piercing shot with a lot of range. The reason for that is that the charger has a couple of upgrades that are available to it. All of the weapons have like their own unique upgrades because they function differently. The charger has a couple of upgrades that are particularly powerful, most especially quick charge, which we'll get to whenever I get one. But also, the charger happens to be a weapon that has a preference for the type of color chip, that is the upgrades, that is, among others, quick charge, but also most of the other really good ones happen to be of that same type, that same family. And so the fact that the charger happens to have a preference to give you those rather than any other type of chip is also very helpful for that. We're really not getting particularly good luck on these first couple floors here. I'm sort of just picking up some somewhat random upgrades that aren't super useful. But I'm trying to find decently fast floors, at least, if I can't get good upgrades. The main type of floors that I'm looking for are these, the portals floors, where there's a couple of these portal spheres around and you have to kill them and they continuously spawn enemies. And I'm also looking for sunfish floors, which we've done one of, where there's a bunch of specific, like, sunfish-looking enemies around that you have to specifically get rid of to advance. So right there, that was my armor breaking. When your armor breaks in this game, you sort of rocket up into the sky, and then if you take any amount of damage while your armor's broken, that's when you die, but not necessarily immediately when your health runs out. And because this is New Game Plus, I have a lot of sort of overarching upgrades from previous runs. I guess I didn't need to check that vending machine. I don't have the money to buy anything, but you have permanent upgrades that you can buy with, I think it's just with the Membucks. It might be the Pearls. I don't remember. It's been a while since I played this casually. In any event, my armor is very powerful. It regenerates very fast. I have a lot of health. It launches me up very high. The higher the better, because then you can go glide to safety. And so dying is basically not a risk during this run, which is very nice. But even if we do die, we have 6 lives, where you would start with 1. And so it's really not all that bad, no matter what. There we go. Now you might notice there's these little reticles on the enemies when I'm looking at them. It's because we have an upgrade called homing shots. That's another one of the very relevant upgrades that the Charger has a preference for, these support chips. Which homing shots does what it says on the tin, right? It makes it so that your shots sort of aim themselves just a little bit. So if you're on target enough, the game will correct you to being perfectly on target. Which is very useful because if we do get that quick charge upgrade that I was talking about, and specifically if we get a lot of it, we're going to be able to charge our weapons so quickly that taking the time to aim our shots would slow us down. And so getting just a little bit of homing shots to make it so that we don't have to do that as much will be helpful, mostly very late in the run. For right now, it's sort of whatever. I'm picking up a second instance of homing shots here, so that just makes that effect a little more intense. And I'm going to stop there. I actually really don't want to get any more than 2 homing shot chips, because at that point it'll start diverting my shots into enemies that I didn't actually really want to aim for, that are just like happen to be closer by in a way that the algorithm likes. And so I really don't want that to happen. So I'm going to take damage on purpose here just to get up. It's a little bit weird, but sometimes that's helpful. You can tell that my armor is already regenerated again, by the way. As soon as that sort of weird glow around the screen disappears, that's my armor coming back. So it was like, my armor was broken for like 2 seconds there. I thought that was already dead. Oops. Anyway, like I said, the color chips that we got thus far have been pretty awkward. The main things that we want, especially early on, are quick charge and main range. Extra range because it helps us really cheese through some of the later floors so that we can shoot the objectives from so far away that we can just basically stay in one spot without really needing to move, which is obviously useful. And quick charge for the reasons I just said, right? Charging more quickly is obviously good for our damage output, but it also makes it so that we can just do, in particular, the sunfish floors very, very easily, because when the sunfish start running away and everything sort of gets messy, not needing to take the time to charge means that you get to keep a lot more control, basically. So we really want a lot of that. But so far, no dice, which is unfortunate. This is our first boss. This is Rondo. Now, Rondo here consists of several layers. I think it's like 8 or so. Only actually the ones with the glowing lights on the rim need to be defeated. But given that some of the later ones are really high up, you will usually end up actually just killing all of them just to get the rest of them down to your level. So this fight can be a little bit awkward. He also spawns a bunch of dudes, which doesn't help either. But if you've done it enough times, you know, obviously you get used to it. And you can tell here that the Pearl drone, that's my little buddy flying besides me here, she has this sort of laser targeting thing that sort of shows me where the different faces actually are. And so I avoided needing to kill 2 whole layers there by just simply finding the ones that I do need to kill, which is convenient. That still wasn't particularly fast. 45 seconds on Rondo is a little bit eh, but given the fact that I have basically no relevant upgrades at all, it's actually pretty good. Pretty happy with that. So that brings us into what you might call World 2, the set of floors between 10 and 20. At this point, I should really like to have a little bit of extra main range, because this is where the floors sort of start to get bigger, and the objectives start to be further apart. So really hoping we find some of that soon. Perfect, okay. Works for me. So I'm going to buy, actually, 3 instances of main range. I'm going to basically go broke, but that's okay. Because that's a really good upgrade. If you don't have anything else, main range is like the most dependable thing. Okay, well, sure, let's do it. We are a sniper today. We've got homing shots and we've got main range, and that's basically all we've got. So my weapon doesn't charge very fast, and it's not super ink efficient. But I can do things like this, where I can just sort of stand here and shoot that and that without needing to go anywhere. So this is already getting somewhere. It's not very good for fighting hordes with, but if I can complete the objectives before a lot of enemies spawn, then that won't matter. So that's fine. Yeah, that's good enough. This ability, Charge Storage, it lets you, if you've got a full charge, it lets you swim just a little bit while holding your charge, so you don't need to recharge again. So it's just a little mobility thing. It's nice. Won't come up too much. Mostly I'm picking this floor because it's a good floor, and you're going to hear that a lot. So I'm going to just, 1, 2, okay, I'm going to need to swim over there. And, oop, oh, come on, buddy. Oh, okay. So that's a good example of like homing shots not being perfect, where the reticle was on it, but sometimes it's a little bit hard to tell whether like homing shots is actually correct, basically, right? It believes that it can hit things that it can't actually hit all the time. So I got misled a little. Okay, that's our first instance of quick charge. That's good. It's not on a good floor, but still. So like I was saying, right, this just makes it so that our weapon charges up faster. And this first one's going to make it a good bit faster, but it's not super impressive. But it's really when you start getting to a full stack of quick charge that it starts to be really good, because at that point the weapon will charge instantaneously, which is very powerful, needless to say. So this is another one of those 8-ball floors. It went by pretty quickly, so that's mostly fine. At the beginning of that floor, you might have noticed there was a little pop-up that said, "Don't use your main weapon." But then I did use my main weapon, which is the sniper rifle, right? It's not like a hard rule. Anytime a pop-up like that happens, it just means that if you conform to it, you get a little extra money. Or rather, if you don't conform to it, you don't get extra money. If you do it a little bit, you still get some, which is nice. When those bonuses come up, I will try to grab them, because just that little bit of extra money to like reset floors with or buy things at vending machines can go a long way. So I will try to take that into account when I'm choosing what floor to play. And we got our second instance of quick charge here, and that one's particularly important because the second instance specifically now makes it so that our weapon charges just as fast in the air as it does on the ground. And it also just makes it a little bit faster. And so that's very helpful when we take care of that guy. So this is a tower floor. We haven't done one of these yet. I have to shoot this tower repeatedly to get it past all of these checkpoints and things along the track, and obviously avoid dying on the way. Now, our weapon does a lot of damage, and since it charges pretty quickly now, the tower moves a lot faster than you would usually get it to move with most weapons. However, I can't see. This is a danger floor. There's several different kinds of danger modifications. In this case, lights out, which obviously turns the lights off. Makes it a little bit difficult on this floor in particular because there's so much verticality. It can be a little bit difficult to tell where the enemies are coming from already. Make it in the dark and it gets a little bit worse. So I hadn't noticed that there were these enemies creeping up behind me. It's a little unfortunate, but it's okay. We got through it. I could reset here, but actually this floor is pretty good. This is a pretty fast floor as far as like the difficult portal floors in World 2 go, and it's got a reasonable upgrade. Lucky Bomb Drop isn't a high priority, but if you can get 1 or 2 ticks of it, it's actually just like a nice little convenient thing where enemies will just die a little bit easier, because when they die, they have a chance to spawn these bombs. Which obviously, if they kill more enemies, maybe there's more bombs and so on, so that's very useful. Once again, I'm going to launch myself, oh, or not, everything's just dead, okay. I wanted to take damage on purpose to get up in the air, but oh well, this is fine too. At this point, I'm really just looking for more quick charge. Like, we've got a little ink efficiency now, we've got a lot of range, things are going more or less our way. I just want to get more broken at this point. That would be a great time to read something if you have something, Momo.
Don't have any current donations, but we are still about $70 away from hitting that Solar Ash upgrade to true ending incentives. And then also, we are about, if I can do math right, I want to say about $85 away from hitting our milestone goal of $3,421.62.
There we go. Please. Okay. This floor is always fun. It's a nice fast floor. You just shoot these two portals at the bottom, and then that charges your special weapon. So then we can just fire our special weapon at the ceiling there, above which the last portal lives, and it'll hit it through the ceiling and finish up that floor for us. Very convenient. Here I'm going to another vending machine. An interesting thing about the vending machines is they don't just let you like buy stuff. Obviously they do that, but mostly actually in-game time doesn't pass while you're on the vending machine floors. And so we time these runs in in-game time because it actually has a very consistent timer. So that's the easiest way to do it for the community. Meaning that vending machine floors are actually just totally free. They get you one floor further ahead at the cost of 0 seconds, which is obviously very fast. So I'm going to be taking those basically anywhere that I can, unless they're offered alongside the best possible ability. And this is our second boss here, and the fact that I have homing shots, a little bit of quick charge, and this much main range is going to more or less trivialize her. This is Marshall. She bounces around, she's got armor, she's generally very annoying. But with homing shots and a lot of range, you can kind of just keep shooting her faces without actually needing to aim or even really be very close to her like you would normally. So she should be dead pretty soon. She's all the way over there, okay. Oh, this is what I meant. So, yeah, okay, there we go. Homing shots did end up diverting some of my shots in the middle there to some of the additional enemies rather than to Marshall herself, which is unfortunate. But that's okay. That's still pretty fast. I didn't actually see... Oh, 38 seconds. Yeah, that's not that bad. For having this little quick charge. The bosses are also random, which one you fight on which floors. There's 3 of them, and you fight 2 out of 3 on any given run. But there's different versions of each, depending on whether you fight them on floor 10 or 20, they get harder. And so this was the later version of Marshall, where there's more extra enemies, she has more health, and a couple of extra attacks, and so on and so forth. I'm not gonna get any of that, that's fine. So we're still really hurting for charge speed. Everything else is sort of going okay, though. None of these are very good. Another moment where in-game time doesn't pass is actually right here on the floor reset screen, which, or floor selection screen. So if I'm doing like PB attempts, you'll actually see me just like sit here for like 5 minutes thinking about what the best possible option is. Obviously I'm not doing that now because we're in a marathon, but these have been really, really mid. Okay, well, I'll just take this. Sometimes you'll see me pick bad floors, that are pretty high reward, where just getting some more money back for later is obviously valuable. But this is a good example of just like this upgrade. I don't even remember what it was. It was not relevant in the slightest. I do not care about whatever this upgrade was. And so obviously that's not where you want to be. You really want to have fast floors that also give you good upgrades. Not one or the other, ideally. Also, on an earlier vending machine, I replaced my special weapon. You'll recall I had triple ink strike before, which I used to cheese through that one portal's floor with the portal above the ceiling and so on. And I changed it to killer whale. The reason for that is actually really purely the final boss. Triple ink strike is very good against Rondo, but once you've done Rondo, you really don't super need it anymore. And at this point, for the final boss, we actually just want to use our special weapon as an ink refill, because when you use it, it immediately fully refills your ink tank. And the triple ink strikes are very, very slow. You have to throw all of them before you're allowed to do other things again, and so that takes a couple seconds. But the killer whale, you just activate it, and then you can immediately keep playing. You just deploy it and forget about it. And so that is much better when it comes to fighting the final boss, because our weapon is going to get so good that the special weapon isn't worth using for damage. We just need a little bit of extra ink to keep using our main weapon with. So that's really the only reason we want that. I'll take this, actually. It's not quick charge, but increasing our damage is sort of like quick charge and like ink efficiency, that like it all just amounts to less time spent killing things. And this particular version of more damage works better the further away from the enemy you are, which, shoot, I'm usually going to be very far away from enemies given my insane range. Excuse you, thank you. Where's the last one? Okay, up there. Cool. There we go. So homing shot's really coming in clutch there, letting me make just a totally impossible snapshot as that enemy was running away. My pointer was not on it. But that's fine, doesn't matter. Homing shot's very, very convenient for that. So all of this sort of building of this weapon that's like stupid broken is really only possible on New Game Plus, because you earn more money on New Game Plus, and resetting floors costs less money on New Game Plus. So you're able to sort of sculpt what you're playing exactly much, much better. If you were playing this, like say for the first time, then you really would just sort of play whatever you were dealt. You wouldn't have any other option. The floor reset hack itself is actually just fully a later upgrade that you wouldn't have at first, and then it gets cheaper as you go as well. So for New Game Plus in particular, we can do this kind of a thing, but if you ever watch a just full new game run, it would look very different. They would do very different things. So floors like these with the sunfishes are really what we want to see, because I can just shoot the sunfishes, and as soon as I do that, the floor just ends. I have a lot of money. I can reset a good amount here. Gonna go looking for something really good. No, that's not it. No. Okay, well, we're almost running out of cash now, so I need to pick something soon. Okay, this'll do. Drone battery drop is a totally totally irrelevant upgrade, but this floor is at least somewhat fast, so I'll take it. This is a floor where you just have to destroy 5 of these, like, enormous well, 2 of them are actually small, but 3 of these enormous portals, which have a lot of health. This could go much faster, again, as I've been saying, if I had more charge speed. But it's still pretty good now. One of the nice things about Sight Order is a lot of the enemies have little mechanics to them that allow you to sort of exploit them in one way or another. Say if you like shoot their projectile, it flies back at them, or these kinds of things. And so you can actually sort of cascade dead and into more damage on portals and things. So that's how I got through those first 2 portals, is there's these enemies that resemble spinning tops, and when you kill them, you can kick their corpses over, and they do, like, insane amounts of damage. So that kind of thing does help with these kinds of floors. Yeah, vending machine's fine. If this vending machine offers me quick charge, the dream is still alive, but other than that, it looks like we're not going to end up getting a full stack of quick charge this run, which is really unfortunate. I will give it 1 reset, since there's only 1 more floor after this. Okay. Well, so be it. I'll just try to get a really fast floor on this next one, and then it's just the final boss left. But it's going to be a little bit scuffed.
Mind if I jump in with a donation real quick?
Go for it.
Alrighty, we've got $20 from Type Rex, who says, Day 2 of RAF has been amazing so far. I loved the Animal Crossing block, and I'm amazed Splatoon 3 has a game mode. Good luck, DTail.
I should hope it has game modes. Anyway, we got offered quick charge again. It's not going to be a full stack, but we're only 1 off, so it's still pretty good. But this floor is going to be pain. You might call this throwing for content in the business. This is a tower floor, so first of all, that's already just a slow type of floor. It's also double danger. The lights are out, and the entire floor is covered in enemy ink from the start. So this is not going to be easy, other than the fact that everything is easy because this is New Game Plus. It's going to be relatively difficult, but mostly it's going to just take absolutely forever. at this point, you'll recall we did a tower floor much earlier where I remarked that the tower was moving much faster than you might normally expect of it because our weapon's so good. At this point, our weapon is pretty bad now. And so that tower was actually moving pretty slowly. We've just not been scaling up well as the game has progressed, unfortunately. But that's alright. It's the final boss, and that's just it. But since our build is sort of weird, I'm going to need to actually play the boss sort of as intended. The way we would normally do this is just totally plow through everything with our rapid charge sniper rifle and basically ignore all of the enemies that are spawned because they'll just die to all of the explosions and things that are going about. But given this relatively pitiful charge speed and damage output, I'm actually going to need to take the time to kill things every once in a while. At least, I expect. I don't have to do the fight like this particularly often, so please enjoy. On the plus side, though, we do have a lot of range, and that does make a really big difference on this fight. The way that this fight works is every phase, and there's 3, Smollesk is going to spawn, that's the boss, these different sort of tentacle things out of the ground in different places. Where they spawn is random. But so given that you don't know where they're going to be, if you have a lot of range, you can often do something like this, where you can actually be in a position where you can hit 2 of them from more or less the same place, and then rotate over to the last one as you go, exactly like I'm doing right now. So having extra range here does compensate somewhat, at least in terms of comfort level, for not having quick charge or a little bit of ink efficiency and so on. Now, unfortunately, actually chewing through Smollesk's health bar is not going particularly fast. Come on, big guy. Thank you. Alright, one more phase. Another unfortunate side effect of not charging particularly fast is that I'm having a bit of a hard time actually keeping the ground painted my color, which means that moving around is harder, which means that, you know, everything sort of cascades into itself, makes it harder to kill enemies, makes it harder to regain my ink, makes it harder to paint, makes it harder to move. Ah, dang it. That was another instance of homing shots diverting my shot. You might have noticed that my pointer was actually perfectly on the spawner there, but unfortunately, since there was an enemy that was, like, particularly close to me, homing shots was like, oh, surely you want to hit this thing. I did not want to hit that thing. Oh, there's another one. I'm being a dingus. This is phase 3. Let me go over here. Get out of my way, please. Small, unfortunate hiccup there, but should be fine. Smollesk is doing a stingray attack. That's fine. I can just go over here. He can't actually hit you with this if you're super close to him. I wasn't close enough to not get hit by that, but, like, you can just hide by just getting directly up next to him. So this is what I was talking about before, about Killer Whale. Me popping Killer Whale here refills my ink immediately. With Tri-Strikes, time. Sorry, I should have called that. That's my bad. Time is when the cutscene starts. To finish my thought, real quick, with Tri-Strikes there would have been a long delay on that ink refill, but with Whale I can just keep going immediately. Okay, what was that in-game time? 10:10. Rough. Yeah, that's not great. My average runs are sort of like a 8-minute time usually. My PB is like a 6:20. So, whatever. It's always a fun run to show off because of how random it is. It's just you always have to do something different. It's a very fun run at marathons. Thanks, as always, for having me. I think, yeah, that was pretty good underestimate. Not as fast as I might have liked, but that's okay. I don't know. I don't really have anything left to say.
You did absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Alrighty, rejects and friends, we will be back very, very shortly with this next run. We're just gonna have a quick little break, real quick, while we get set up for that and get it all pixel perfect for you. See you in a bit.